Grace and peace, everybody. We're back. We're up in the building. Happy Thursday to you. Happy Thankful Thursday to each and every one of y'all. Thank you so much for hopping into the best live chat on the internet. I appreciate y'all stopping by, saying what's up to the folk. Make sure that you jump in. Make sure you say hello to all you good people, all that kind of good stuff. I'm waiting for my guests to show up. I do apologize. We have had a little bit of technical issues, so I'm waiting for my guests to make it through. We're going to have the beard lawyer on this evening to talk about some of these cases that have been out here, give you his expertise on that as well. So I'm looking forward to that. Now, in the meantime and in between time, we are going to check out what's going on with y'all. Thank you so much to all of you already. Amethyst is already in the building. I appreciate her. I see, let me see. I see Texas Mother in the house. Thank you so much. There we go. Beard has a fan base already. Okay, I love it. Make sure you say what's up, Beard. Make sure y'all say what's up to him. And the moderators are going to drop his link in the chat. Please go by and make sure you support our guests and let him know we thank him for coming through today to give us his expertise. All the way from Florence, Kentucky. There we go. Whoa, sorry about that. Always from Florence, Kentucky. Tanya, it's always good to see you. Thank you so much for stopping through on this evening. Now, before we jump in, if you don't mind, just like Tanya always does, tells us where she's from. In the chat, tell us where you are right now. Are you in Atlanta? Are you in wherever? I don't know. Just in the chat, let us know where you are. And in the meantime, I'm going to tell you where my guest is. He's in the house. Shout out to the beard lawyer. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good. How you doing?
Quite well, sir. Thank you so much for stopping through this evening. How goes your day today?
You know, I'm good. I am actually in Albania. It's midnight here. I'm traveling, and I wasn't going to miss the show, though. I always appreciate a good conversation. So, yeah, I'm here in the Balkans. I've been here for about 8 days now, and Albania is the last leg of my trip. Yeah, I'm here in the Balkans. Sorry,
okay.
I got some feedback.
So you're doing like a reverse World Cup.
A reverse World Cup. That's exactly right. I was actually in Bosnia earlier too, and man, Bosnians don't mess around when it comes to soccer or football, as they call it. Right? They don't mess around. Yeah. That was incredible.
Okay. Can I ask what your travels? Are you just family traveling? Are you doing something for work, or just enjoying life? Or
you know what? I always like to learn about other cultures and other people, and this was just the time to do it. There's never a wrong time to do that, and so, yeah, man, it's pretty exciting stuff. I would encourage more Americans to travel the world and not just do the whole Paris, London, France thing, but get out and go to other places, you know, and experience the food, the culture, the people. Don't just stay at the resorts. Like, get out, and that's how you learn about the world and learn about yourself. Really, is to do something outside the box.
I can take that. I will accept that. I will accept that. I'm a cruise guy, so I like to cruise with my family. But because I feel like it answers a lot of questions that my kids had when they were younger, because I don't have to worry about it because everything's taken care of on the ship, so I don't have to worry about it.
And I should apologize ahead of time if my audio or video or lighting is not great. I'm not in my home studio, so if this is at all difficult to process, that's what's going on.
You know what? I think we're already going to, you know what? You're going to have to pay penance. You're going to have to come back again. There we go. Once you get back to the States, we'll have you come back again, and I'm sure there'll be more shenanigans. So don't even worry about it.
Let's do it.
You look great. Sure. You look great now. Do you mind just real quick, just in case any of my guests or any of our audience doesn't know who you are, do you mind telling them who the beard lawyer is? Besides a man with a great beard, by the way, but go ahead.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem, brother.
So I'm an attorney. I'm based in Scottsdale, Arizona. My practice is primarily internet defamation, and we do the standard commercial practice representing entrepreneurs. But the real meat and potatoes of my practice is internet defamation law, and that has a lot to do with speaking the truth and speaking from the heart online. And we've learned in many, many, many different cases that sometimes the truth doesn't matter. And sometimes the truth does matter. So that's my practice in a nutshell. I do both plaintiffs and defense work. I know we're going to be talking about criminal cases. I'm not a criminal lawyer, but I followed some of these cases pretty closely. And yeah, I'm happy to be on the show and to talk about it.
I got it. If you don't mind me asking, how did you get into internet defamation law? I mean, there's 160-ish different forms of law. How did you get into that one specific? Or
Yeah,
is it
so
trial by
internet,
fire?
you know what's funny is I started practicing. I started my own practice right out of law school, and
Nice.
that
Okay.
was 17 years ago. And at the time, Amazon was just becoming this Goliath, and people were just starting to jump on to social media. There was no Instagram. YouTube was still in its
Wow.
nascent stages, right? And so nobody was really representing people who were doing business online. Nobody was representing the entrepreneurs online. And so I decided, you know what? I want to dabble in that. And so it started with just somebody said something false about someone online, as people do. That's how it started. I
Right.
had first case, and I'm like, man, I really love this. I also love representing people who are trying to establish themselves online, whether it's a product or a service or a creator like you. And that's how it started. It's been 16 years in the making now.
Wow.
And I love it. I picked this area of practice. It didn't pick me. And I get to meet amazing people every day, represent great people in difficult situations. And so my practice teaches me just as much as I teach my clients as well. So
I love it. Well, okay. Well, thank you. I did not know that. That's actually kind of cool. So we'll have to hear more about that when you come back. Now,
absolutely.
now, by the way, you actually sound fantastic. So I don't think there's no problem at all.
Awesome.
Now let's talk about it. There's 3 cases that we kind of talked back and forth with your team on the through email: the Carmelo Anthony case, Candace Owens versus the world, and the Rick Chow case. And just starting with the Carmelo Anthony, just as a legal expert, I don't expect you to be a true defense attorney or anything of that nature. What was a single biggest strategic mistake made by the defense, and what would you have done differently if you had been the lead counsel or had been able to give some insight?
Yeah. The defense made some pretty big mistakes in the Carmelo Anthony case, right? And
Okay.
let me say this objectively, and as a lawyer, my job is to be objective. I don't let
I
my
understand.
biases, my background, my ethics, it's not about me. It's about analyzing a case that is now history, right? The trial
Hmm.
happened, evidence was presented, witnesses were presented, the jury was impaneled. So being as objective as possible, I can say with some level of certainty that I felt, having read, now obviously I wasn't sitting in the courtroom and I haven't read all of the trial transcripts. I've read a lot of news articles and those sorts of
Hmm.
things. So with that in mind, my honest opinion is the defense really needed a legal defense and a human defense. And I'm going to tell you what I mean when I say a human defense.
I'm
What
here to
you
hear this.
heard, yeah, what you heard that the prosecutors did really well, that the defense didn't do as well, is the prosecutors really underscored the lack of reasonable belief that deadly force was necessary. They went right, that was the crux of the case. The
Got it.
defense needed to come back and say, you know what? We may not have the best legal defense for self defense, which is what was argued, but
Mhm.
rather, this is a human being. This is a kid. This is his background. This is why he was captain of the team. This is
Mhm.
why, this is who he was as a human being. This is what happened. And almost show some remorse, you know, and
Right.
that did not come out. Now, whether that was a strategic decision by his defense team, whether that was oversight, maybe that was their read of the jury pool, I don't know. But I don't think the human story existed for Carmelo Anthony for his defense. The prosecutors called 21 witnesses. Okay, let's think about that for a second. Most
Mhm.
people don't, when they read headlines, they don't read this part. Prosecutors called 21 witnesses. They were extremely surgical in their presentation of the case. The autopsy, they warned the jury saying, look, the autopsy is going to be extremely graphic. And in an autopsy, for those of you who don't know,
Yeah.
you may know, you're seeing a chest cavity cut open down to like inside the bone. It's cracked open up. The head is cut open. Okay, you're seeing skull, you're seeing brain. It is nasty. And everybody knows, if you've ever watched a horror movie, that invokes in a person emotional responses, right? So they're like,
Right.
oh my God, this is a human being. This is a teenager I'm looking at right now.
Right.
Automatic. That's not just a requirement to show causation. It's a human appeal. It's an emotional appeal. Okay. These are things that subconsciously, if you're a member of a jury, you're now looking at somebody who died in a very gruesome way. You're losing sight of anything else at this point. You're staring at
A body. I think my friend froze up. He was preaching too. He froze. Dog. Hold on. Give him a second. Give him a second. Okay, I'm gonna bring Beard back in a second. Let's see if he's traveling abroad, so maybe he has some bad internet there. But let me see. Looks like I lost him. He's coming back. Man, he was cooking too, and I'm right there with him. He was right on the button, and I apologize. It looks like his audio looks like his internet may have fritzed out on him. But I mean, he's right there on the button, and I do think that. And I want to ask actually a secondary question about that. Does he think that anything could have been done on the front end, i.e., the Metcalf? I'm sorry, embracing the Metcalfs, praying with the Metcalfs, saying that they're sorry, apologizing, seeking restitution through the form of admitting that there was something done wrong versus what we saw. So when he comes back, and I will definitely ask him that as well. What are the questions? Shout out to y'all. What did you say here? I kind of vacillated back and forth right here on this one about whether or not Karmelo should have, but now I'm fully on the team. Karmelo should have taken a stand, even though I don't think they had a good case, even though I don't know if they really would have been able to substantiate self-defense, but he should have taken a stand. That's just it. There's no way around it. Let me see. A good comment. Yes, I'm definitely wanting to hear what he has to say. He was cooking too. I might have to make him run that back and start that all over again. But shout out to Beard Lawyer. Again, sometimes that happens, traveling abroad, doing these types of things like that. So I appreciate him even hopping on. Yeah, hear me. I do believe he would have got eaten up by the prosecution. I don't even doubt that. The problem is the jury would have at least heard his voice. I don't think you can overlook that part. I think the fact that the jury really never heard Karmelo's voice, never really saw Karmelo, get up from the desk, walk to the witness stand. I think those kind of things like that would have, as Beard was saying here, shout out to the Beard Lawyer. He's back. And I was just filibustering that I agree with you 100% about the human element. And I said, I do believe, initially I said it was the right thing not to put Karmelo on the stand because he would have got ate up. I said, I could have probably asked enough questions to get him ate up, right? But even though he would have got eaten up, he still would have been a human that got eaten up. And I think that's where people would have seen that element. But please continue.
Yeah, I think, the heat of passion, self-defense. When everyone hears self-defense, here's something that's kind of critical for everyone to understand. Now, obviously, this is there is an intense race aspect to this case, and at least from the public's eye, there really is. Mm-hmm. Now, when you're playing to the jury, you're sticking to the facts. You are playing to the emotion. So what I was getting at was heat of passion, which is the self-defense that Carmelo Anthony's team was trying to get the jury to bite onto, which they didn't because the facts were weak for him, was, hey, jury, you need to believe. You need to have a reasonable belief. Okay, listen to this very carefully. You need to have a reasonable belief that deadly force is necessary to protect yourself, or in this case, himself, against the use of others' attempted use or unlawful use of deadly force. I read to you the jury instruction on that. Those are the exact words. The jury is going to be hyper focused on reasonable belief. What are the objective facts that you believe that your life is in danger for you to act in self-defense and stab somebody and use deadly force? And we've seen other cases, and we'll talk about Rick Cho in a minute, okay? Because I think there's a flip side to this.
Yep.
But if the prosecutor gets on the stand and says, or puts a witness on the stand and says, "Hey, coach, let me ask you a question. You saw this happen. Was Karmelo Anthony on the floor being choked like this? Were his hands around, his neck? And was Mr. Anthony being choked? No. Okay. Did he have, did Austin Metcalf have his knee on the back of Karmelo Anthony's neck with his facing down? No. Okay. Did he have a knife to his neck? No. Was he being held down by multiple people? Was there a baseball bat? Like, you see where I'm going? I'm walking.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're going.
I'm walking you as a potential member of the jury down the story. And the story is, hey, dudes and hey, gals, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you cannot reasonably believe that Mr. Anthony, in his mind, thought he was going to die, or thought that he needed to use deadly force. Key terminology here, deadly force.
Yeah.
If Karmelo Anthony poked Austin Metcalf in the eyes with his finger.
Three Stooges. Yeah.
Okay. What? Fall down. And again, trying to be objective here. And we're looking at it as outsiders with no emotion, or at least trying not to be emotional. The jury's hearing this and they're saying, you know what? Based on the 21 witnesses that the prosecutors called, they had no basis to believe that Karmelo Anthony's life was in danger. That's the story that's being told here. Okay.
And I'm right there with you. Let me ask you a question, because you just brought up something. If I poke you in the eyes, that would not be seen as a deadly activity. Like, let's say we're middle schoolers. Beard and Jay Witt are middle schoolers in school, and I'm just being a jerk, and I see you come down the hallway and I pop you in the eye. It's fair to say that that's just being something silly that kids would do. Is that fair?
1000%. And to add a little more flavor for it, what if I knew you and we used to hang out at lunch?
We
used to kick.
We're just hanging out, and I just pop you in the eye because I'm just being a jerk. Now let's put you on that. Let's put us on those bleachers, and if, let's just say, Karmelo had poked Austin in the eyes, and Austin grabbed his eyes, stumbled back, and fell back and broke his neck. Now, he did in fact do something, but the activity of just poking somebody in the eye is not seen as a deadly activity or a deadly effort. I don't intend to kill you by poking you in the eye unless I'm John Wick or the Joker from Batman. I don't, just poking the eye, I'm just being dumb, just doing something silly that kids do. And if that had in fact done it, now, would that have been the manslaughter that people were trying to muster up out of nowhere? That would have probably been the manslaughter, because it wasn't, again, poking somebody in the eye with your fingers has never been seen as a deadly activity, again, unless you're John Wick. But I just want to bring that up, but go ahead. Or
no, it's a key factor in all this. And just to set the stage a little bit, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of the facts, because I don't purport to be an expert on the facts here, but from what I read, there was a rain delay, and it was multiple schools attending a track meet. And this is happening in Frisco, Texas. Okay, so the context is you're teenagers at high school attending a track meet. And for whatever reason, Anthony ended up in a tent designated for another school's athletes. Now, my understanding is he was nominated, if not, he was actually team captain. And he had reason to schmooze. And look, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, they're going to schmooze. They're going to go to other people. They're chit-chatting. I'm sure he knew people from other schools. So using another school's tent, no big deal. Okay, I don't consider that to be a confrontation on its own.
Mm-mm.
But what witnesses testify, when I say witnesses, other students testified to, was a confrontation that ended up
Correct.
becoming physical. Now,
Mhm.
people have criticized Anthony, Mr. Anthony, for carrying a knife.
Mhm.
And let me say this. I don't know the politics of Frisco, Texas. Maybe some of your listeners are, and they're listening and want to drop a comment. If you know what it's like to live in Frisco, drop a comment. Here's my point on this. My point on this is it inherently wrong, illegal to have a knife on you in Frisco, Texas? I don't know. Somebody can fact check me on that. I don't
It's
think
the location,
that
though. You gotta go
alone.
with the location.
So this is where I'm going.
Uh-huh.
Context matters, right? So, but
Yes.
I'm giving you what I hear people say, which is,
Yeah.
so what? He had a knife. And my response to that is, you're at a track meet. What are you
Right.
expecting to happen that you would need a knife for? And while I believe everybody has a right to defend himself and herself, what context is the jury hearing and thus latching onto and deciding this case from a self-defense standpoint
Mhm.
when they hear that this guy had a knife at a high school track meet? That's the question that's being asked in every jury member's mind. And
Yep.
I can't think of a reason that you would have a knife at a track meet.
And there's a content creator, the After Prison podcast. He ordered the knife that we believe Karmelo had. It's a gnarly piece of metal. This was not just a,
Is that right?
people are saying, it was a Boy Scout knife. Here, I'll pull it in. Hold on.
Yeah, let's look
I'm
at
gonna
it.
pull
if
it
you
in.
have it.
Yeah, this is a gnarly little piece of metal here. It's not for the faint of heart at all. Here it is. Hold on. Some reason or another, it's opening up all of his shorts. Hold on. So, but I'm trying to. Here it is, right there. Okay, I'm gonna pull it in. This is on the fly, so I just want to show you, just in case you've seen it. It's a gnarly little piece of metal. So let me pull this in. Shout out to Greg from the After Prison podcast, and I agree with you. I mean, I'm here in Georgia. Everybody carries pocket knives here in Georgia. You just can't carry them on school grounds. That's the problem. Okay, so real quick, Greenheart's in the chat when y'all can hear.
Karmelo had. So there's your little seatbelt cutter right there at the bottom. Little bottle opener action somewhere. There's a flashlight, I guess, right there. But nobody cares about the flashlight. Nobody cares about the weight of this thing. All we care about is what we're getting ready to whip open right there. I also want to know, like, how quickly you can whip this open. Oh, my God. And you can, hey, I can almost, holy moly. That is the biggest 3 inches I've ever seen in my life. Serrated blade. Oh, my God. And that thing is sharp. And did you see how quickly it whipped out? Let's run that one more time, Steve. Yeah, that'll do the trick. All right. That is a Boy Scouts aid tool, as Charleston White liked to refer to it as. It's ugly. It's mean. It's uninviting. And that shit looks like it will do ungodly damage.
Another lie that they said, he brought the knife to school. He didn't have a knife. He had a Boy Scouts aid tool. So what's on that tool? They have 12 different components. You lift this one up, it may be a bottle opener. You lift this one up, it may be a screwdriver. And they're about this small. They're smaller than 3 inches. It was so small, you don't even see it when they take the picture next to the body because it laid next to the body right by the backpack.
To talk about the knife was so small, you couldn't even see it sitting next to the body. I don't know, man. I don't know. And I just can't get over this. I can't get over that. You know, why would a knife have the ability to just whip, to go like that? Why would a knife have that? That is for immediate response. It's a hunting knife. Somebody had said this is actually used to gut a deer with. Well, something else got gutted with this as well, too, unfortunately.
All right. How does that?
Let me make a comment on this.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I checked, and as it turns out, I always like to fact check myself, by the way.
Please.
So I like doing this. Frisco Independent School District, where this happened, prohibits the carrying of any bladed instrument, as they call it, that's capable of inflicting serious bodily injury, including pocket knives, folding knives. Now, state law says, well, any knife with a blade of over 5.5 inches is strictly forbidden. Okay, 5.5 inches. So whether this was 5 inches, 3 inches, doesn't matter. Okay, from perspective of, was it proper for him to have this? Now I want to change my answer. It was totally improper, as it turns out, because according to the school district rules, you can't have weapons on campus, period. It can result in suspension. You can also be arrested. So there's the answer, in case people are wondering. Shouldn't have had it on him, period. Now, I don't know if that fact was presented to the jury or not, but this is me objectively looking back. The dude shouldn't have had the knife.
I mean, and given the fact of how quickly, as you saw Greg opening it up, flicking his wrist, if it was open in the backpack, that means it was already unsheathed in the backpack, ready to do damage from the word go. Or maybe he had his hand in there, opened it up. Either way, to the point that we're making, it shouldn't have been here. And therein is the rub. Yeah, so I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much on that. Now, here's another question. Looking back now at the sentence, oh, that's the question I was going to ask you. When you were saying that they didn't humanize him, let me bring this question down. Okay, they didn't humanize him. I did a video looking at my mentor here in Atlanta. He's a former attorney as well. And he talked about the fact that Karmelo Anthony's family should have taken advantage of the opportunity afforded them when Jeff Metcalf came to their press conference to pray with them. Because Jeff had already said that he forgave them, and they should have jumped on that opportunity to let the world see that we're trying to heal, we're trying to restore. And he went through a lot. He went through a really detailed explanation of what they should have done. And I'm just asking you, do you believe that that would have helped? And it is leading into this question about sentencing. Do you think it would have helped not only with the humanization in the courtroom, because I still believe he should have gotten some time. He was guilty and he should have gotten some time. But would them, accepting the olive branch from the Metcalfs, being seen praying with the Metcalfs and giving them an opportunity to speak as well, and actually just saying the word sorry. Like to this day, I've done 4 videos on the family. I've yet to hear them say, I'm sorry for what my kid did. I take responsibility that my kid did something horrible to your kid, and I apologize for that. I haven't even heard that. So do you think that would have helped in, leading into my question about sentencing? So what are your thoughts?
100% they should have done that. They should have done that. That was a mistake not to, man. It's unfortunate. They 100% should have done it. Look, an apology goes a long way. And you can't, in this instance, apologize to the victim because he's not with us. But they could have done other things and they didn't. And, Jay, I feel obligated to say this because, and I'm going to get some hate for it, but that's okay. No,
we don't hate on my guests over here. No, we don't hate the guests. Look, go ahead.
But the fact that the race card was played really hard on this bothered me because as a lawyer, look, first of all, in America, our justice system is broken. I'll be the last one to tell you it's a perfect justice system. Okay. On the civil side, on the criminal side, I'm here to tell you it's not a perfect system. It has a lot of flaws. I do believe people have biases. I do believe juries are biased. I do believe judges can be biased.
Yes, sir.
But the jury heard facts and made a conclusion based on those facts in this case. And the facts were not on Karmelo Anthony's side. They just were not there. They were not on his side. And everything that happened between the death and trial In everything that happened, nothing suggested remorse.
Yeah.
That's a problem. And for people to say, and this is my belief, that this was purely about the fact that he was a young black man, I don't think is accurate. That's my opinion. Some people may
I'm right
agree
there
or
with you.
disagree. There may be other cases where race played a more significant role, okay, and there was a lot of bias. I'll be the first one to admit that. But I don't think that was this case. And just to play into the facts a little more. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if people want to know exactly what you're talking about, because you said they played the race card hard, it's literally at that press conference. At that press conference where Karmelo's mom and dad are standing in the back and Dominique Alexander's at the podium and they kicked out Jeff Metcalf, that's when they played the race card. If you look at that meme where you're on a road and it forks to the right or forks to the left, and to the right is the race card, and to the left is seek reconciliation, apologize, some kind of contrition. They chose not to go there. They went down Race Avenue, and that's what we're looking at today. And most people, if they're honest, if you think about it, if imagine what would have happened if they had said, Jeff Metcalf is here, we're canceling this press conference, we need to have a conversation with Jeff. We'll get back to you next week after we talk to Jeff. And the next time you see them, Jeff Metcalf is there with the Anthony family. They're all crying and snotting and black funeral crying. But guess what? They're unified together. You know, like I know, we would not be seeing the kind of craziness that we're seeing around this Karmelo Anthony situation. He still needs to be in jail. But I think we all can agree that it would have been 100% different had they done that. And they missed that opportunity, as my guest just says, as Beard said, they missed that opportunity and they chose to go down the street of racial bias and all this kind of foolishness. And now we're looking at the clown show that we see today.
Something we didn't touch on that's worth noting that shook me to my core was what happened with the legal defense money.
Oh, yeah. We're not going to. Yeah.
I mean, what a bad look, man. What a bad look. Like, to some degree, I can understand that the family's fearing for their life. Again, I don't know Frisco, Texas well. Maybe if your listeners, if somebody's from Frisco, please chime in.
Yeah.
But the suggestion by the parents is that we fear for our life, so we need to move. Then it was, we need new transportation. We need to be more secure. $1 million. I mean, listen, okay? I know plenty of people who fear for their life in a Toyota Corolla. I don't know. I don't know that you need a mansion in a Cadillac Escalade.
Right.
So what a bad look, dude. What a bad look. I have to say that.
I'm going to add to that. Because I've done videos and I've heard how much they actually paid for the lawyers, how much they didn't pay for these quote unquote top tier black lawyers, whatever. That's not the argument. My other problem is, as parents, because I am of the belief that the parents basically threw Karmelo Anthony to the wolves. They just threw him to the wolves and saw him as a fundraising money bag that they can keep receiving, and they're not really concerned about that young man. I hate that, but it's the truth. My name is Jason, jwitt at jwitt.com. But when you hear how they talk about this case, I'm sorry, you should be an expert. I should be borderline. I should be dang near a lawyer at this point, because I'm just as involved in this as you, as my lawyer, Beard. I'm in there as much as you. I'm giving your paralegals a run for their money, because there's nothing. What else do I have to do? It's my child. My child did irreparable harm to this family, sullying our name. I mean, our names are mud all around the world. Oh no, I'm a lawyer now. I don't know what you was doing before, but you are a lawyer now. And the fact of how little they understand about the case, even after the fact, is crazy work. The fact that they can't explain why their son didn't take the stand. The fact that they can't understand and explain why, if Karmelo had epilepsy, which makes no sense to me. And I brought this up in my video as well. If you have epilepsy, that means you're kind of medically fragile, right? And if you get hit, because some people said that Austin shoved him and he hit his head and he has epilepsy because he could have had a seizure. I'm like, well, that's true. Okay, that's fine. But he also was the captain of the football team, and it wasn't the flag football team. So if they're tackling each other in football because he just had that shoulder injury, so we know that he was playing contact. How is his epilepsy an issue? But even in that, why did he not have his doctor in as a witness? Where's his teachers, his pastor, the little old lady down the street? Look, we're going to get these people up in here because I don't have anything else to do but to defend my child and make sure my child gets the best possible outcome. And they didn't do it.
And to double down on this, and this is why I started with this statement, if your key defense, which it was in this case, was Carmelo Anthony reasonably believed that his life was in danger and he had to use deadly force. Really? That's what you're leading with? The guy stabbed Austin Metcalf so hard, it broke bone. Okay? And I've heard people say this, oh, well, he didn't stab him in the heart. No, he reached his chest cavity. He broke bone. I mean, it went in and if that's the knife, okay, and I believe it is based on what you just shared earlier on the video, that's a tactical knife. Everybody knows that when you see it. It's designed to be sharp. It's designed to stab. It's designed to break skin very easily and penetrate. And it's serrated at the bottom so that when you pull it out, it incurs maximum damage. That's a tactical knife.
Yeah.
That shit hurts. Okay.
I mean, there's no other way around it. I mean, look at that thing. Look at that thing.
Yeah.
That's a naughty piece of metal right there.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to get stabbed in the ankle with that. Never mind the chest. I mean,
look, I don't even know if I want to open a bottle with it. I'm just going to stick with my bottle opener on my spatula for my grill. I don't even know if I want that thing around me. So yeah, to your point, like this is something different.
You mentioned his parents. Let me say this. My understanding is when the sentencing was read.
Oh yeah, don't even go there.
The parents were not even in the courtroom. Dad wasn't there. Mom left to go speak to the media because apparently that's more important than supporting your son at the time that the sentence is being read, which is mind-boggling, by the way. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know about the money. I don't know about the house, whether they bought it, they rented it, whether they leased the Escalade or whatever. That's actually beside the point. I want to know why it is that because it's free for you to become an adjunct paralegal because you are helping in this case. Like, why are you not going? I mean, literally, why did you not become a lawyer? Because you were so involved in this case. And instead of just saying, we just trusted what they told us. We just did what they told us. I mean, his dad said they told us to do this, so we just trusted them.
Listen, Aaron Brockovich, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's what you become when something like this happens. If you believe your son is innocent, you're not necessarily out talking to the media when your son's in the court about to literally get slapped.
Yeah.
This is a wild story, man. It's a really wild story. And again, the facts tell the whole story here. And I think it was a really big mistake for the defense. There was opportunities to object, by the way. I do think prosecutors want a conviction. That's part of our criminal system. They're going to push. Right. I don't know that they engaged in misconduct. I don't have enough facts to say that. I know that they asked witnesses things on the stand about whether Carmelo Anthony was guilty or not. Probably defense may have objected to those kinds of questions. These things happen at trial. But ultimately, a jury believed, again, I read the jury instruction, that there was no need for deadly force. And I agree with that. Okay. Listen, I was 17 at one point too.
Yeah.
And I've had a few kerfuffles. Okay. And
don't turn this into a confessional now, dear.
What's that?
I said, don't turn this into a confessional now, Beard. I don't want to have to be a witness.
No, I was a scrappy young kid at one point. I was a
Uh-oh.
scrappy young kid. And I, I've thrown a few punches, I've received a few, but my point is this. It's a 2-week automatic suspension, right? You fight. But kids throw hands, they push, they yell words, they say things. Stabbing someone viciously. Here's another fact, Jay. I've heard people say, well, it was one stab.
How many more do you need?
I mean, listen, it just takes one hit to the carotid artery. Are you going to argue that slicing someone's throat, or hitting their carotid there's nothing wrong with that? That's ridiculous too. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not a big fan of that argument of the one stab argument.
Yeah. And I think, well, to me, I think that's part of the one stab, the Boy Scout knife, he was getting jumped. Those are stories that are based in cope. I just can't cope with the fact that this young man did what he did, and he's being punished properly under the law. So we got to come up with again, all these fanciful stories from mystery videos that people, only 3 people have seen, but the video was on Reddit, to all these other side quests, instead of just dealing with the fact he did something wrong and he should have been punished for it. I mean, it really is that simple, but people have made it far more complex. And then now they're here and they're running their heads in the walls, and that's on you. And you could have just joined us. He did something wrong and he's being punished for it. All right.
Yeah.
Here we go. Well, man, thank you for that, man. I appreciate your insight. All right, we're going to shift gears. We're going to leave from Texas. We're going to hop over here to South Carolina. The Rick Cho and I forgot the young boy's name. Please forgive me for that. But the Rick Cho case. And do you want to give me your thoughts on
Cyrus Carmack?
Yes, thank you so much. What you want to give us your thoughts on that? And I want to ask you what aspect of the of course, give us the background, and then the question will make more sense.
Yeah. So, this case was about Rick Cho. Rick is, I believe, middle name, 61-year-old Asian man. And he shot Cyrus Carmack Belton in the back. Mm-hmm. And that was after chasing him out of his convenience store in Columbia. Okay. Those are the facts. And he maintains, he meaning Rick, that he acted to defend his son. And we should revisit the facts about his son and exactly why he says he was defending his son. But allegedly, Cyrus, I think he was 14. Somebody fact check me on that.
I think he was 14.
He's a 14-year-old who came into the store and had a gun pointed at Rick's son. And that is what prompted Mr. Cho to then chase Cyrus out of the store and shoot him. Okay. Those are the high level facts. Now, two things jump out at me, and we should go into the facts in more detail in a minute, but there's two things that I want to juxtaposition here with the Karmelo Anthony case.
Okay, sure.
And that is this. In one of these cases, somebody had a gun pointed at their face. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
In one of these cases. Now, this is happening in 2 different states. Okay. I think the racial tensions are different in each of these states, in each of these counties. You could make that argument, but the fact that jumps out at me, because look, these are cases that had 2 clear, distinct outcomes contrasted from one another. Rick got off, right, on self-defense despite shooting a 14-year-old kid who was running away. Despite shooting him in the back, he's acquitted. So despite the fact that there's a dead body, he's acquitted. Where in the first case, Karmelo Anthony, 35 years. Why? And that fact jumps out at me, and I'm fully prepared to get pushback from anyone about the play. I do have some trouble with this case, and I think if you chase somebody out of a store and you have a gun and the kid's running, this is the part that bothers me. Is it necessary to shoot and kill?
I'm with you. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, and I tend to try to separate cases. So even though we just literally got done talking about Carmelo Anthony, I would try not to, because I'm like, Texas versus South Carolina, and there's some complexities. So I'm just like, let's just look at this case right here. I don't know if you necessarily had, and let me back up, pause right there. A sheriff used to work out at our gym, and he would come all the time, and we would talk about his job and what he did. And he mentioned something to us one day, just in talking and speaking, about how difficult it is for them to pull the trigger, because they know once that bullet leaves, no matter where you intend for it to go, you're responsible for where it goes. And so whenever we're going to the range or anything of that nature, that's always stood out to me. And I always remember that, it doesn't matter what I intend to do. It's just the fact that wherever it lands, that I'm responsible for that. If it landed, 2 houses over in some, in a grandma, I'm responsible for that. Even though I was trying to get rid of a really bad person that was right in front of me, but this bullet went all the way down the street and took out grandma. I'm responsible for that. So now my point in that is, I don't know if I would have, if the person, the Cyrus young man had left the shop already, left the gas station, was running, whether he got popped in the back or whatnot. I don't know if I would have pulled the trigger if I was Rick, because I'm just worried about where the bullet's gonna go. I'm worried about where that is. Cause even if I took him out, but also took out a grandma, I'm in trouble. So that's my thought process about this. I don't know all the ins and outs. I don't know if I would have, if he was still in the shop and, causing immediate danger and he had a gun, okay, maybe we can have another discussion. But he was already outside. And I'm like, I probably wouldn't have done that, but it is what it is. I mean, that's what happened. But so that's just my thought process there.
Yeah, I mean, prosecutors in that case argued correctly, I think, that I shouldn't say correctly. I should say prosecutors argued what I probably would have argued if I was a prosecutor in this case, which was,
okay, there we go.
Hey, Joe, you unlawfully chased and shot a teenager in the back after a confrontation outside of the store. What's up with that? That's a good question. Okay.
Yeah.
I think the jury, right? I mean, look, the jury has to make the decision on whether they disapprove of the state's ability to say, you know what, this guy was wrong to run outside and pull the trigger. The jury has to decide if the prosecutors are correct in saying that he shouldn't have shot this guy and that this is at least manslaughter or is unjustified use of force. Because remember something, when you say self-defense, when you say I acted in self-defense and you have a dead body, the burden of proof is on you now to show that standard, that you had a reasonable belief that your life or somebody's life was in danger and you had to use that amount of force, lethal force in this case.
Lethal force, yeah.
And the South Carolina jury said, you know what, we think it was okay. I feel, and I don't know the facts of this case is in and out, as I know the Carmelo Anthony case, but I do feel some type of way that, once the kid's outside of the store running down the street is no longer a threat. I mean, what do you think?
I think, again, now if it was a matter of me running, because I know that you can't run and I can't stop you and like hold beard until the police come, because that's unlawful. What is it? Entrapment? Is it entrapment or what is the word? where I can't just hold you hostage until the police come.
Imprisonment. Yeah.
Imprisonment. I can't just do that. I definitely already told you I'm very nervous about pulling my weapon. So if the kid is already, if you ran out of my store and I have a good picture of you, I'm calling the cops saying, hey, this is what Beard looked like. He stole a Kit Kat bar and a Capri Sun. I want him trespassed from here, never to come back again. I feel like that's probably the best thing. I don't flippantly think about, let's extinguish somebody's life because they stole something. I think that we probably need to raise our threshold of how we believe that lives should be taken. I do think we should probably raise the threshold some. Now, if you got a weapon on me now, you don't turn your weapon on me or on my family, all that stuff I just said goes out the window. Grandma, everybody catching it because you put my family in jeopardy or myself on jeopardy. I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna just do this thing. So again, but he already left the store, and if that's really what happened, if he really indeed had left the store, I don't think he needed to chase him down, around the block and pop him.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, a jury is looking at this and saying, look, we don't endorse that Cho did the right thing. So this is something that lawyers will understand, but I think lay members of the public may have a difficult time understanding is when somebody is acquitted and there's a dead body and the jury makes a decision, and after 8 hours, like in this case, it was an 8-hour deliberation. It's not like they went in there after an hour. It was 8 hours of deliberation in the Cho murder trial. And they have to decide, and they're instructed this way at the close of all the evidence by the judge. They're instructed to say, listen, you heard both sides. Whatever evidence that I said you got to listen to, that's the evidence. Don't look outside. Don't read news articles. Did the prosecution carry their burden? And alternatively, did the defense carry their burden to show that using lethal force was reasonable? Do you believe that Mr. Cho reasonably thought that either his life or his son's life was in danger based on the presentation of evidence? Who met that burden? The reason why I'm framing it this way is because some people read it and say, well, they're endorsing Cho killing somebody. And it's a little more nuanced than that. Okay?
Right.
It's a little more nuanced than that. And look, you and I don't have the benefit of having been a member of the jury. And that's why I like to watch interviews of members of the jury to see what stuck with them. What did they think about? I am troubled by this outcome because if we, again, juxtaposition it with the Karmelo Anthony case, my question is always this: did somebody have to die for this thing to get resolved? Like, did somebody have to die? No. What was a reasonable reaction? Well, in Karmelo Anthony's case, throw a punch, get into a fist fight. Coaches pull you off. Leave.
Just walk away.
And in Cho's situation, he could not leave. And I think the jury really, really saw, you know what? This kid had a pistol, allegedly, semi-automatic pistol, and he could have used it. He could have shot Cho's son, or he could have shot Cho over a water bottle. And, 14, 15-year-old kids, they're not exactly supposed to be carrying guns. And you add to the fact that they're nervous and anxious. You point a weapon. You don't point a weapon unless you intend to use it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I mean, those are very different scenarios. These are not the same case.
No, I agree 100%. But I think that's a great question as to somebody, did someone have to die for this to be resolved? I don't know. And the complexity of the Cho case, if it was a split-second decision, a 14, 15-year-old has a gun, trained on your child, your son, you don't have a lot of time to figure this out. In the Karmelo Anthony case, there's 100 different solutions, and all of them could have been that everybody went home safely, and most of them surround, just leave, just go away, just go. If he had just done that, none of this would have happened. So I think definitely the Karmelo Anthony case could have been solved without somebody being dead. And I don't know all about the Cho case. Go ahead, man.
Something else. And look, I'm guilty of this too, because I wasn't a member of the jury. Neither were you. Neither was majority of the people.
I'm gonna go with 100% of this live chat was not part of the jury.
Right. And so the case was not, I should say the defense of Rick Cho was not, Mr. Cho shot Cyrus over a water bottle. But that's what you hear people say.
Right.
But that's not what the defense was. And that's not what the case was about. The defense was very succinct. It was, this kid, Cyrus, had a gun. Rick Cho testified truthfully, according to the jury, that Cyrus pointed the gun at Andy, Rick's son.
Mm-hmm.
The jury also heard and believed Rick Cho's testimony that Andy's life was in imminent danger. And the jury heard and believed that Rick Cho testified that he fired to defend and save his son. That's the logical train here. And when you break it down like that, it doesn't matter if people reading it in the news later think that Rick was lying or not. We could believe that the jury got this wrong, but the case is not a store owner murdered a black kid over water. That's not what the story is. That's not what the jury heard. The jury heard that somebody had a 14 or 15-year-old kid had a gun pointed at the store owner's son. And in that moment, what was he supposed to do? Was he supposed to say, okay, now here's a Snickers bar, put the water bottle down, put the gun down? That's the universe we're in right now. And those are the facts. So people can comment and say, you know what, we believe the justice system failed us. But let's look at the evidence. Let's look at the facts that the jury was presented with. Now, it'll be interesting to see if there's an appeal and what the basis of that appeal was and what happened. But and I'm saying in Karmelo Anthony's case, right?
Oh yeah.
And personally, I know the parents have said that they intend to appeal. I don't think there's any appealable basis here. We'll see. People say they're going to appeal all the time. But these cases have different outcomes because the facts are very far apart. And that's something as a lawyer, I think it's very important for people to understand.
Absolutely.
And that's why I say very heavily that these are not the same case. You can't expect the same outcome.
Let me. Okay, now we have to jump back to the Karmelo Anthony. So you keep making us go back to Texas. So we have to get some barbecue over there. All right. So people don't realize that just because Beard sued me and lost, and now wait, I'm sorry. I committed a crime against Beard. So we're in court and I'm found guilty and I have to go to jail. I appeal. You don't just get an appeal because you don't like the result of the trial. And I don't think people realize, well, no, I'll take that back. I know people don't realize that. It's really, as you mentioned, you said something procedural, or was there an error or something that needed to be objected to? If there was something, Beard brought in some phony evidence and my lawyer objected to that evidence, but the judge still allowed it, that's something that they can look at. Say, well, wait, Beard brought in this makeshift AI video of me throwing gerbils at him, and it's fake. Why did the judge allow it? But not just because we don't just get an appeal because I don't like the result. And well, I don't like wait, you found me guilty? No, I want to appeal. No, you don't do that. There had to have been something truly that was wrong. And I don't think people realize that. They just feel like you just get a run back because you just don't like the result. And that's what we're hearing a lot of people say.
That's right. It's an error of evidence. It could be a mistrial based on something the jury relied on that they shouldn't have relied on. We've had cases where we find out that somebody was talking to the jury, or somebody came into the jury deliberation room, or something crazy. But you don't win an appeal because you don't like the outcome. That's
right.
The unfortunate risk you take.
Yeah, and that's what I'm hearing. A lot of people, again, they don't like the result, so they're going to appeal. But then also, I realize people don't realize how long an appeal takes. You can file, like literally, let's say me and you are in court, and I lose, I can immediately pass them a note, not a note, but file, say, hey, I intend to appeal this because you allowed this AI video of me throwing gerbils at Beard and it was false. But I don't get the appeal like the next day. I still got to wait for, is it fair to say it's kind of like they got to still close up business? They still got to end the trial. They got to get the transcripts. They got to get all these kind of things in place. So it takes like 30 days, sometimes even longer, depending on how long the trial is, to get everything ready for the quote unquote appeal process for the appellates to actually look at whether or not something was really wrong during the trial. Is that fair?
Yeah. That's fair. No, that's fair.
Okay.
That's fair.
And I feel like a ton of people don't realize that. They just feel like, we're going to get an appeal next week. Like, no, you're really not. It could probably be, at best, it might even be Christmas before you actually see anything resembling an appeal. And even in that, it still has to be things that are wrong.
And I should say this. I wish Rick Cho, that was a tongue twister, did not shoot this kid. I do.
Oh my gosh.
I wish he didn't. I don't think it was necessary. I want to say that. The question before the jury was whether Rick himself thought it was necessary to use lethal force, and do the facts prove beyond a reasonable doubt his defense when he says self-defense. And the jury said, yes, we believe that Rick Cho believed his son or himself were in a risk of imminent death. They believed his story. They didn't like the fact that a kid had a gun, that he pointed a gun, that he could have shot without hesitation. And again, I don't endorse the fact that this kid had to die. It's extremely unfortunate, especially in these juvenile cases. Yeah. Yes, he shouldn't have had a weapon, but I don't know the circumstances of his family, where he came from, what happened. Okay. But it's a horrible thing that a young kid had to die this way, and that there had to even be a criminal trial to begin with. But unfortunately, this is the outcome. And look, I kind of understand. I kind of do understand when people say, I'm outraged. That could have been my kid. I kind of understand that. But on the flip side, where the hell does this kid get a gun from?
Yeah, I stopped doing that. You might not know this, but I'm Black, and I have little Black babies, and my mom and my dad, my brothers and sisters, we're all Black. No, it would never have been my child. I'm sorry. No, because my child's not running around here with guns. No, I'm not going to sit there. I'm not going to put myself in that mix. Nope. That's you all. That's your child. That would not have been my child. Period. End of story. To have a gun and be comfortable enough to pull it on somebody, that would never have been my child. No. So I hate when people do that, because they try to use, and we do this as Black people. We love using this collectivist language. Like, all of us believe this. No, we don't. I don't believe that. I don't believe that children should be carrying firearms. Period. I also don't believe that children should be stealing. So no, it would not have been my child.
But by the way, it's my understanding that the prosecution sought charges for premeditated, first-degree murder, premeditated.
On Rick Cho?
In the Cho case.
Okay.
All right. The reason why I think the prosecution made a mistake is because the burden of proof to show premeditated murder, first-degree murder, is much more difficult. They could have, and probably would have gotten much farther with a manslaughter.
I was going to say reckless manslaughter.
Yeah, some kind of, reckless disregard for human life. That, hey, you know what? We understand that this kid had a gun and that it was pointed, but did you really have to shoot? Wasn't that reckless? You chased him out of the store. Where was I don't know. This is just me. If I was a prosecutor, I probably would have brought some sort of manslaughter charge versus premeditated murder. I don't think I don't see premeditated murder here.
Yeah, I think that was much. It kind of leads into this question I have. and feel free. We've kind of talked about it. What legal lesson should the prosecutors and the defense attorneys take away from the Cho acquittal that the public may have completely missed?
Yeah, well, I think the elevator pitch version is, look,
I like
a
that.
South Carolina store owner shot and killed a 14-year-old after an encounter in his business because a gun was pointed at someone. And when you understand that your life or someone's life, like your son or daughter or parent, could be over, you're going to act quickly. And acting quickly may be the wrong decision long term, but in that short term event, it might be the best thing. And you may later even turn out to be wrong, right? Like in these cases where somebody points a gun that was painted and it was a water gun. The question is not, was it a water gun? The question is, did you think your life was in danger? And objectively, were you unreasonable? And it's extremely important for people, and I'm speaking more for the general public here. I think it's important to understand what that is like when you stand in the shoes of someone who is likely to be killed versus what I think Karmelo Anthony's case was about, which is this kid shouldn't have had a knife, and he clearly acted in a very deranged way, because stabbing someone in the chest is not the answer to a fist fight. I don't care what the guy said to you or how he hit you, unless you were literally being choked to death, which is not what happened.
Nope.
The jury got that one right. Got the Karmelo case right. The other thing with what's misunderstood about the Rick Cho case, I think, is kind of what you're getting at. And I think people, I've said this in a different way earlier, I think people confuse acquittal with endorsement. And a not guilty verdict doesn't mean the jury approved of the chase by Mr. Cho and this 14, 15-year-old kid or the shooting. It just means that the prosecution failed to eliminate reasonable doubt under the theory that they were bringing the case. Now, listen, parents may bring a civil case against Rick Cho.
We might, yeah.
This could be an OJ situation. All right. That's yet to be seen. It could be a wrongful death case. Might be a great case. And message to prosecutors, look, particularly in big cities, prosecutors tend to be very talented, especially in murder cases. You don't put somebody who just came out of school on a case like this.
Right.
Politically, it means a lot, right? Enforcing the laws. Don't be overzealous either. I think the mistake that was made in that case, in the Cho case, is prosecutors probably should not have brought a first-degree murder case. They probably should have brought a lesser case, a lesser offense. And I think being overzealous and saying we're going to teach them a lesson, they didn't look at the facts close enough. I think that was the mistake.
I can dig that. I like that. I guess my takeaway from this conversation in this series of questions is what you said. Did somebody have to die to resolve this issue? I think that's a fantastic question to consider. Did somebody really have to die? And I don't know if it applies in every situation, because sometimes the crime shouldn't even happen. But in this situation, same thing with Karmelo Anthony's situation, nobody needed to die. All you need to do was, I feel, let the kid go. Like, okay, fine. Now, again, I don't know if he literally had, the weapon to your child's head, then maybe all bets are off. Okay, I don't know all the ins and outs, but like Karmelo Anthony, that's a hands down. Just leave. Just get out of the situation rather than exacerbate it. And touch me and find out. Y'all ain't nothing but a bunch of peas. Yeah, and you had the weapon in your bag already unsheathed. Yeah, you had bad intentions, in my opinion, from the start.
Yeah.
But no, that was good, man. Thank you. All right, you ready? You're gonna have to floss after this one, Beard. You have to get the toothpick out, because we're gonna go to Candyland. We gotta talk about Candace. Let's go. At what point did investigative commentary cross the line into potential defamation? this is your wheelhouse. What am I talking about? And do you think Candace Owens is approaching that line in any of her current disputes? And we're talking about her versus the Macrons, Brian Harpole. I'm sure there's more of them coming. So, and maybe more have even come. So any of that, do you think she's gone into defamation? What do you think?
The short answer, I know, man.
That look, sigh was epic.
Let me breathe some context into this real quickly. Whenever somebody asks me a question of did someone cross the line, like we just talked about in these other cases, I don't look at their politics.
Mm-hmm.
I don't look at their religious beliefs. I don't look at what school they went to, what hood they grew up in, what kind of car they drive. I go right to the facts. I put my lawyer cap on. I read the words on the paper and I think. And Candace has crossed the line a few times. And here's the problem. And I'm a big advocate of free speech. I have clients who are content creators like yourself, big bloggers, people who are on the front covers of magazines, celebrities of the internet. And I want them to have as free a voice as possible. And I really believe that the public deserves to have discourse, especially on key issues, like in the the Harpole versus Candace Owens issue, which was about Charlie Kirk getting shot, right? And he was an important public figure, and it was an important issue for our country, and law enforcement failures, investigative failures. Commentary on this is important.
I agree.
But she crosses the line when she insists that her opinions are not opinions, but facts.
Right.
And that's the problem. If I want to present to you a theory, it's just a theory. Okay. I always like to make fun of people who think the earth is flat. I always like to, because it's the easiest for me to make fun of, because I think, I won't insult them. But if you literally think the world looks like this, this chocolate bar here that I'm holding,
that's a serious chocolate. That's a serious chocolate bar there, my friend. You're about to do some damage.
100% cacao. All right. And
man.
I am eager to try this thing out. It's here in Albania. No, but look, here's my point. You can theorize that the earth is flat. You could theorize it's a triangle. You could theorize it's a pentagon and a sphere and it's a cube and all you want. And you could lay out all your reasons. Oh, have you ever, I love this one. Have you ever looked out the window of a plane and all you see is a straight line and da 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 da. You cross the line when you say things like this. I have proof that NASA has fed everybody lies, that all of the pictures of the Earth are actually AI images. And NASA knows the Earth is flat, but they want you to believe that it's round for some strange reason, because apparently somebody's profiting off the Earth being round. I don't know. But
I guess
when you say statements like that, or like, John Smith over in the NASA telescope division has fabricated the images, you've totally crossed the line. It's not a theory anymore. You're saying things that are capable of being proven true or false. That's the test. That's the test for whether it's an opinion. So when you say things like, for example, Brian Harpole he had knowledge that Charlie Kirk was not going to be alive, and therefore didn't plan his security for the next event that he was supposed to speak at. That is not an opinion. That's a fact. Okay. When you talk
let me ask a question.
Yeah.
Let me ask a question. How would you say that statement right there as an opinion? Because I agree with you. That is a fact. How would you say it as an opinion? I just want to hear what it might sound like.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy anyway, but.
What I would say is I would ask the question. I would ask the question. I would say, hey, what do you think about this? Why is it that, and by the way, I don't even know if this is true, that Charlie Kirk's forthcoming speaking events didn't have security plans. Okay, let's just say that's true for the purpose of our conversation.
For sure.
The way I would say it is, right? I'd say, hey, has anyone thought about why security was not secured for forthcoming flights and forthcoming speeches at these universities? Wouldn't it have been important if you're the head of security to make sure that these things are done, particularly for a controversial person in this politically charged climate? Why wasn't it done?
But you stop right there, so you don't make the determination that they must have been in on it. It was a plot or anything. That you're just asking the question, leave it right there.
And if you want to ask more questions, you can. But what I wouldn't do is say Brian Harpole knew that Charlie Kirk would not be alive. Because by saying that, you've crossed the line. That's the problem. And you can argue why your version of a story or theory, again, to go into the flat Earth phenomenon, why you think the Earth is flat and why you think NASA is all in on this conspiracy. But the moment you start saying that John Smith over at NASA is destroying all the pictures of the Earth that show it's flat, you've got a problem. Okay.
Correct.
And I mean, she said on her podcast in black and white, and it's alleged in the complaint. Okay, and this was said in her January 8th, 2026 podcast episode. Because remember, she's done a series now.
She's done several, right?
Right? She's doubled down on it. She said, when you lie a lot, and when you're planning things you're not supposed to be planning, as in the next day you expected Charlie to make it to September 11th, you would have been communicating about what he was doing up at the Sheriff's Bible College, basically implying that Harpole knew that Kirk would be dead by September 11th and therefore didn't have a need to plan security.
Wow.
And so you can draw, look, whether, now this is getting into some defamation law, but generally speaking, it's uniformly accepted as law in all jurisdictions that it's a two-step process on whether a statement is, whether a person can be found negligent or having made a statement in reckless disregard for the truth from a defamation standpoint. And what we do is the judge first determines if the statement is capable of defamatory meaning on its face. Is this statement an opinion? If I call Brian Harpole a jackass or a piece of shit and he's an idiot, he should never have been in security, those are all opinions. I can say those things with zero liability, okay?
Gotcha.
And people should say those things if they want to.
Okay.
Judges determine whether those statements are opinion or statements that are capable of being proven or not. Judges make that determination. A jury determines whether the statements, assuming a judge says, you know what, these are capable of being defamatory. A jury decides whether the meaning was conveyed, the defamatory meaning was conveyed. Why am I saying that? Well, we just talked about in criminal cases how there's a burden of proof and how the burden of proof is high, it's beyond a reasonable doubt. And it's the jury's job based on evidence to decide who met their burden. Even though we're on the civil side, there's a similar burden. It's a preponderance of the evidence standard. It's a 51% likelihood standard versus like a 75 or beyond a reasonable doubt, which is high. The point is this: a jury decides whether in a civil side, in a defamation case, whether the statement conveyed defamatory meaning, whether the statements Candace Owens is saying actually conveyed that she's speaking facts about Brian Harpole. Okay. And she has said a lot. She said, I've made 6 buckets of information. And in all of the buckets of information, she said, I think there's some that are worse than others. But she's definitely crossed the line. I think a jury could conclude that statements she has made cross the line into statements of fact that are absolutely false. And, but there are other things she may have said that she may get away with. Okay. So here's the problem. All right. Look, Candace Owens is making a shit ton of money on this.
She's making quite a bit.
And and again, you're allowed to make money. It's a free market system. I sometimes wish I could just make that kind of money just talking shit about people online. That would be great, right? Wouldn't it? But
it wouldn't be bad.
this is another reason why the cost of a microphone should really be like $10 million, because certain people shouldn't have a microphone. And I feel like she has taken advantage of the fact that she has an audience who trusts her. Because look, I don't disagree with everything that she's ever said, but I don't have to agree with everything she says either. I can be critical, and this is where I think people get things wrong. I don't categorize people, do I like this person or not, before I decide whether their statement's defamatory or not.
Got it.
I don't decide, is this person conservative, liberal, Republican? I do not care. It doesn't even fall on my radar when I'm looking at the legal side of things. The problem is, Jay, that we are in a politically charged environment. And the second that you turn something into red shirt, blue shirt, I can control how you view the credibility of that statement. You follow what I'm saying?
I'm right there with you.
And so Candace knows this. She's not stupid. She knows the political balances and imbalances of things, and her messaging is chock full of it. And so when she speaks, she's not a news reporter. She's an editorialist. And as an editorialist, as an editorialist, you are allowed to put gloss to a degree and opinion. But again, if you're editorializing things, then you can't be writing front page of the news claiming it's news and that it's factual and that people should believe it.
You need to stay on the editorial page.
Stay on the editorial page.
Right.
But the problem is you have so many eyeballs and so much money to incentivize. Look, you have data and analytics on your platform. Every creator does. You know what does well. You know which guest is going to do well and does well. And you know what gets clicks. You have a good idea of what your audience likes. She has a very good idea of what her audience likes.
Right.
And she's played that card. And to her credit, she's played it well. And if she's the kind of person you might want to appoint for business strategy, perhaps not legal strategy.
Right.
But she seems to know what she's doing to make the money roll in, because apparently her key audience loves her.
Yeah. To substantiate your argument there, again, and I encourage the audience, the best live chat on the internet, think about the content creators that you enjoy watching. Hopefully I'm up in the pile, but if not, I'll accept that. What do they put out? Do they put out the same type of content? Do you notice even a formula, even, dare I say? Or is it just all around, but it has the same theme? And you can tell Candace understands that. Candace understands, as Beard just said, she totally understands her audience, and her audience likes the slop that she puts out. And I'm giving editorial, but they like that. That's clearly what her audience wants. And they like that conspiracy theory. That's why she doesn't talk about silver Yeti cups, because her audience is not interested in that. Her audience is interested in what she puts out. So that's to your point. You're right on the button. Now, I do want to ask you a question about the Macron case. And I did not send you this question before because this information came out actually about noon today. The Macron case was supposed to be determined whether or not it was dismissed, was supposed to come out on the 22nd at 10 o'clock even. I had a couple people who had a countdown timer and everything. Well, Beard, much to our chagrin, we got this message today that the motion to dismiss has been moved to the 27th of July. What in the world? Because you do realize that nothing has happened on this case since January 9th of this year. So almost better than 6 months. Nothing has happened on this case. This dismissal motion just keeps getting kicked down the road. What is going on?
Yeah, what's interesting is I didn't check the docket before this call, but I'll believe you if that's what happened.
Yeah, this is it right here. Yeah, this is the docket.
Yeah.
And again, you see right here, Macron versus Candace. Let me make it a little bit smaller. It was filed on July 23rd, 2025. Defamation, case schedule order, and let me scroll down to the bottom so you can see that this was the motion Oh, now they're saying it's rescheduled. No, I'm sorry. Here it is, right here. So it was supposed to come out on the 22nd, right here, and they moved it. Is there a reason why? Why do they keep doing this, man?
Yeah, that's interesting. I see that. Motion to dismiss and strike event continued, rescheduled. I'm looking at the docket entry right before it, and it says notice of motion to dismiss and to strike, first amended complaint to be heard. Go back, notice of withdrawal of counsel. So
yeah, that's when she had an attorney that bailed on her. I remember that.
Yeah, that was April 23rd, 2026. So it could be that counsel who's arguing the motion requested the additional time. That could be it. It's really hard to say what happened. Remember something. Now, this is let me just go back and double check this.
Oh, yeah.
This is happening in Delaware, if I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Look, there's some courts that on their own volition will move things around based on the judge's calendar and things that have to be more urgent versus less urgent. Motion to dismiss in a civil case, and believe it or not, the case is still early, just based on the scheduling of things that I've seen. It's probably just not a high priority for the judge. On top of, I don't see that there was I don't see that there's a request or a stipulation filed. It looks like the court just moved it.
Everyone, they're just dragging it out, man. They're dragging it out.
Who knows what's going on? It could be a coincidence. I'm just looking at the docket. The fact that I don't see that the parties asked for the continuance. Typically, even if it wasn't by motion, if the parties got together on a call with the court and said, look, Your Honor, we want a continuance of this motion and this argument for XYZ reason, there would typically be a docket entry that said, there was some sort of huddle with the court, with the judge, and somebody was requesting it. This looks like, I could be wrong, this looks like the court did it on its own volition.
6 weeks though?
Yeah.
Not move it till next week, but next month plus some.
The judge, it could be that the judge in this case, Sheldon Rennie, may have had a jury trial.
He going fishing.
Yeah.
He's got a vacation. I'm sorry. Let me leave him alone. He might come get me.
By the way, let me say this. I think some of the statements, just reflecting on my prior thoughts, I do think that some of the statements may get dismissed as purely opinion. Okay. I don't think that's going to be, because look, I've talked about this before and I've done content on this before. Tennessee has an anti-SLAPP statute. And for those of you who are not familiar with anti-SLAPP, right, it's an opportunity for a defendant who's being sued, in this case, Candace Owens, to get a case dismissed very early without it going to discovery on the basis of saying, look, your complaint doesn't have merit because the statements at issue are protected by the First Amendment free speech rights. And they're either true or they're protected opinion and you don't have a case. And so thus far in this case, all we've seen is an amended complaint. There was a letter in support, there's motion practice on the motion to dismiss. There's been a lot of that. And thus far, that's effectively it. So the judge is considering carefully, whether this case should continue as it's currently on the docket, meaning according to the First Amendment complaint, should it continue at all? And should it continue in some other marginalized form because some of the statements are opinion? And look, I wouldn't be surprised if portions of these of the First Amendment complaint get stripped because they are too close to opinion. And the judge thinks, as a matter of law, I don't think somebody could find this as defamation. I don't think this is capable of reputational harm. So it's a smart move for Candace's team to file this kind of motion. I would have filed it too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of that, I'm glad you brought that up. So let's just say the Beard bat phone rings today, and it's Candace Owens on the other line. She said, "Beard lawyer, I'm wondering what I should do. Should I continue doing this, or should I make moves and pivots in different directions?" Would you tell her to keep pushing with these investigations publicly, or begin dialing it back some, and especially on some of the claims while these legal fights are going on? You got the Harpoles, you got the Macrones, you got other ones coming down the pike. If you would, why? If not, why not? What would you tell her? She's just asking for counsel, not you to take on like a signing on, but she just wants some advice.
Here's what I'm going to say. The lawyer's, a good lawyer at least, is going to consider the client's objectives first. And so I ask Candace, what are your objectives here? What are you trying to accomplish? And if her answer is, well, her answer could be, I want to make as much money as possible, and I don't care. I'm ready to foot the bills. My market loves it. They love that I'm being sued. They think that I'm totally in the right. It's raking in the dough. I'm selling shirts. I'm selling hats. I'm selling subscriptions. So, Rice, keep me in the game. I want you to continue to defend. Here's the next month's retainer in advance, and you tell me what I need to do to keep it going. And you know what? That's not a bad strategy if that's your objective. It's all based on what the client's objective is. So, personally, I would say this. I would say, look, stop talking about this case. Stop talking about Brian Harpole. Or at a minimum, pivot to something else related to Charlie Kirk. But don't talk about the case. I do think it would be foolish for her to talk about the litigation. When I say the case, I mean talk. I think it's foolish for people while they are in litigation to talk about their litigation, because everything they say is going to come up in discovery to say that this person has demonstrated actual malice, knowledge of falsity. We told them what they were saying was false. They had the facts. We've been giving them the facts, and judge, they're still going off. It's just too risky. So I think a prudent lawyer would say, dude, pull the plug on this Harpole stuff, like in the case, like just stop.
And would you probably same thing with the Macrones and other as well? Is that would you would say the same thing with Harpole and Macrones?
Yeah,
even if you think some of that stuff's going to get thrown out?
Yeah, I think, again, I would say at a minimum, stop talking about the litigation. I would say, Candace, don't talk about these cases. If you want to talk about a new reason why you believe Macron's wife is a man and runs a trafficking ring and all these crazy things, then fine. Don't talk about your own case.
Okay.
But the most prudent answer is just stop. Like, pull the plug on this stuff, man. Like,
yeah, just stay quiet. I can dig that. I can dig that for sure. All right. So as we round these bases, Beard, I got one more for you. Which of these three stories, the Karmelo Anthony, Rick Cho, or the Candace Owens litigation, do you think has the best, or rather the most misunderstood by the public? And what are people getting wrong as an overall?
Yeah, I think I have maybe two angles to this. Karmelo Anthony's case absolutely demonstrates that stabbing someone in the chest, that's deadly force. Whether you intended to kill them or not, it is deadly force.
Right.
Was not justified under the facts. Period. Done. It's that simple. And people are getting wrapped into, well, he's a this type of kid lives in this community and he grew up like this and he's afraid for his life. And I've heard people say, if you come up to my kid and you say this, and I'd say, if somebody come up to your kid and even threw a punch and you stab them in the chest, your kid's going to go to prison. I mean,
right.
It's I don't understand why it's not black and white for people. So I think that's misunderstood. I think people are getting that wrong, that it's unjustified. The facts presented to the jury demonstrated the conduct was unjustified. Maybe there's a different version of these facts, Jay, in some other universe where Carmelo Anthony was right in what he did. Definitely is not what happened in the courtroom.
No.
Second thing is, I do have, with respect to the Rick Cho case and his acquittal, I do have reservations about him shooting a 14, 15-year-old kid in the back. 100%, I said it already. But you got to understand, and the public is misunderstanding, that the question is, did the prosecution meet their burden of proof?
Correct.
On premeditated murder. And the jury says they did not meet that burden because the defense, they believe, met their burden to show that he believed that the use of deadly force was necessary, that he reasonably believed that he had to use at least that amount of force to save himself or his son. And
Wow.
make no misunderstanding, whether the jury loved the fact that there was a dead body as a 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid that was dead, whether the jury loved that fact or not is not relevant to whether they believed Rick Cho's story, credibly believed his story, that I thought my son was going to die and I had no choice. I think those are two big misunderstandings. And again, look, the law's full of gray areas, and I really hope the jury got these things right. You know, I really hope that the jury got these things right. I think based on the evidence they did.
I'm right there with you. I guess my only thing, not my only thing, something I took away from this is we cannot try to conflate other cases and just make them a one-for-one, apple-to-apple overlay for another case.
That's right.
Even though there's some very key elements that are, there's a lot of similarities here. That there's not, especially when we're talking about somebody 2 time zones over in other states, different complexities. I don't think we should do that. And that would be my only, not my only, but that's something I think people are misunderstanding. Like, don't try to make every case the exact same case. You're the George. Go ahead.
You nailed it. It's easy to paint with a very broad brush. It's too easy. And the problem is when you do that, you fall victim to the lack of a thought process and thinking through issues. We live in a time, Jay, where it's really easy to kill people's ability to think analytically with key buzzwords.
Yep.
And we live in the headline era, and we live in the political era, and people can't think for themselves anymore, unfortunately.
No, you're right on the button.
You know, and I'm again, I prefaced this before we started. I'm not an expert in any of these cases. I'm not a criminal lawyer, but I'll give you the extent of my knowledge, and I'll give you my honest opinion. And I read the cases, and nobody is perfect. The law is not perfect. Trials are not perfect, but generally, the juries tend to get things right in these criminal cases because of the high burdens. And if you're going to put someone away for life or 35 years and charge them with, murder or manslaughter, there is a high burden for a reason. And I think in these 2 cases, I think the jury got it correct. I'm not in love with the facts of either case. I feel more strongly about the Karmelo case, that the dude just shouldn't have stabbed the guy in the chest in response to a fight. I mean, he just shouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
I feel a little more regret for what Rick did. I really wish he didn't shoot this kid. I think the solution could have been different. But he believed he had to do what he had to do, and the jury believes him.
I agree. No, that's great, man. Thank you. Now, Madison, shout out with the 10. She says this, and I appreciate you, Madison. Thank you. Has your guest, you're talking to you, heard of the former Bachelor contestant Clayton Eckhart and the other victims, Laura Owens case, serial pregnancy faker out of Scottsdale, Arizona? Is that in your wheelhouse? I've never heard of this.
I actually have. And
oh, okay.
I have. Clayton was in The Bachelor one of these seasons. He's a reality star, and
I should look that up. Okay.
Unfortunately, I can't even say anything about this because
Okay,
of
never mind.
confidentiality, but I
Oh.
do know about this case.
Oh,
So I'll leave it at that.
well, there we go. Well, thank you. Wow. I had never heard of it. Wow, shout out for sure. And she also said I meant guest, not quest. Shout out. Thank you so much for that, Madison. I appreciate it. Now, April says this. I feel like the store clerk, we're talking about Rick Cho, should have called the police, not chased down a kid. I can't disagree.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I can't think of anything in the store that was worth your son getting a gun pointed at him or you pulling out your gun, discharging it at a 14, 15-year-old kid. There's nothing in the store that's that important. If you got him out the store, get out of the store, lock the door, call the cops, send a tape. Yeah, that's just, thank you so much, April. I appreciate it. April also became a member. Shout out to that. Thank you so much, April. Welcome to the team. Now, also, she says this with Karmelo Anthony and Austin case, for one bad decision, both families loses Austin's family more because they will never get their kid back. No argument for me. Are you okay with the 35 years, by the way, Beard?
you know, I don't know if there's a mandatory minimum sentence. You know, this gets into the question of the logic of the sentencing, and I might be speaking out of school in terms of, you know, whether it was a correct thing. Now, just from a rule of thumb standpoint, my feel on it is, look, if he has the opportunity for parole, he's a young kid and shows good behavior and can get out early and do his time, great, you know, and show rehabilitation, great, because he is young. 35 years is heavy, but so is stabbing somebody in the chest with a knife.
All right.
Under the circumstances in particular that it happened under.
Right. Let me ask you this. Let's rewind, and instead of the blade going into Austin's chest, let's say Austin saw it coming, he put up his hands and he stabbed him in his hand. I mean, went through his hand, so he pierced his hand and it was in there. But what would Karmelo have been charged with in your estimation in that event? He shoved him, Karmelo, you know, stabs him in the hand. What would he have been charged with? I'm just wondering.
Yeah, probably assault with the deadly weapon.
Yep. Okay.
You know, assault with the deadly weapon, which is a serious charge, is a felony.
Yeah.
Probably it could have had a 5 to 10 year prison sentence as well. But he, in a way, he's lucky he didn't get a life sentence.
I agree 100%.
You know,
he could have absolutely gotten a life sentence, and I understand. Again, he's 17. There might be a chance for rehabilitation. I totally get it. I was just wondering, again, if you use a deadly weapon but it doesn't do the deed of killing somebody, how does that work? And I thought it was going to be assault with a deadly weapon. So shout out to you. April also says this is why I teach my kids, don't put your hands on in your pockets while you're in the store. And I don't let my kids go anywhere without me except to school. LOL. That's because I can't go, or I would. I'm right there with you. I just tell them, because I'm the guy, I've told this story before. I walk around the grocery store putting all my stuff in my grocery bag. I carry my grocery bag. I don't carry a cart. I don't get one of the little baskets. I put everything in my grocery bag and I walk around the store. And I'm like, I live in a predominantly mixed neighborhood. There's more white people in my hood than black. And not one person has ever stopped me to search my bag. I've never got pulled over. I've never, you know why? Because I don't be stealing. I don't. Everybody in my grocery stores know me.
And it's another reason why when you get pulled over by an officer, you keep your hands on the steering wheel.
Let me do this. No, usually on Thursdays, Beard, we do body cam bingo, and we watch body cam footage. And I found a video. Oh, You're going to watch it with me. You're stuck now. You're going to have to watch this because we've watched some of the worst body cams. I mean, just like take me to jail body cams. I saw one yesterday that made my heart feel good. My cold, callous heart felt warm. I said, this is exactly what we've been talking about, and I can't find it. Where'd I put it? You're going to love it, especially if you've seen these body cams where these people do all these boneheaded stuff and get themselves put under the jail almost. This one right here will really, it was great. Okay, continue though.
Oh no,
no, okay.
That was basically my line. I mean, this is why you learn to do things in a certain sequence as a member of society, because we don't like the risk of being shot or arrested or whatever.
No, I'm right there with you. Thank you, Amethyst. She says this: all lawyers must be prudent in their ex parte public statements about cases, especially when they are not directly involved. He's not pondering, he's protecting his reputation, character, and brand. I think somebody, thank you, Amethyst, for the very kind 10 right there. Yeah, we don't want to, we don't want you, Beard, to put yourself in a position where you're saying something out of turn or looking like an expert in something that you're not truly an expert in. So no, that's what we're right there for you. What we got here? With everything going on today, this is why I go around listening to Michael Jackson's song Black and White. Thank you, April. I appreciate it. And then she came back around the bases. I did pray that if Carmelo Anthony got found guilty, that he would have a chance at parole because he is young. Yeah, I can dig it. It's just, the parents don't get their son back. So, and he was young, you know what I'm saying? So, and he'll never be able to be old. So I get it. I just don't, there's just some back and forth a little bit. Like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that one. But anything you want to add on that?
Listen, you do the crime, you do the time, and there's no question. Look, there was never a question of whether he stabbed and killed someone with a knife. That was never up for debate. He did that. The question was whether he was justified, and he was absolutely not justified. And so, yeah, he's young, and he should go away for a long time, and he should suffer, and his family should suffer because, like you said, you can't bring back the kid who's not here anymore, and his parents have to suffer. And look, the law has a tough thing to balance, right? And in this case, when a life disappears in an unjustified manner, a life sentence makes sense.
I mean, it's hard to accept, but I agree with you. I agree. And I mean, in one aspect, I agree with you. I'm hoping that he'll seek redemption and try to be offered, if he's offered parole, that he'll do something different and really make a change, unlike what his parents did, because I really think they dropped the ball in the beginning with that. Somehow or another, Beard, I don't know what I did that video. It was there's a school here in Albany, Georgia called the X School for Boys. And it's a private school, and a young man teaches these boys how to be industrious, how to build things, how to clean things, how to shop, how to manage their budgets. He did a video explaining what to do in a traffic stop. And it was so on the button. I'm mad I can't find it. I'm like, I thought I saved it for Body Cam Bingo, but apparently I didn't. But he does
seen that video before,
where he gets yoked out of he does everything wrong. Yeah. He does everything wrong. He even tries to fight the cops and he gets arrested. And then he does it again where he does everything correct. And I think he does it 3 times. And he did it kind of correct, still got pulled out of the car. But then he does everything correct, is perfect. And I like the fact that the Albany police work with him, and they're there. They're like literally doing this as if it was a real bona fide traffic stop. Lights on, the whole nine. And I don't know what I did with that video.
Stupidity.
Right. Wait, you saying I'm stupid?
No.
No.
Sorry, bad timing. The traffic stop.
No, it is right on the button. Hold on. I'm gonna look one more time because it was a great video, and now I'm kind of mad. I thought I had it saved. But again, he just hit all the buttons of what to do in a traffic stop, and it definitely helped out. But now tell me, if you don't mind, if you didn't do defamation law, what form of law would you do?
Man, that is a great question. I would probably be an entertainment lawyer full time, and in a way, I am an entertainment lawyer because I work with creators and I help them advance their cause and their objective into feeding their creativity to the world.
Okay.
But the thing is, I couldn't be a prosecutor. I couldn't be a public defender
Really?
because I would be so afraid of being wrong. It's like you don't play with justice in that sense. And so, yeah, that's probably what I would do.
Interesting. Okay. No, I can dig that.
Work with creative people.
I like it. It sounds like you enjoy creative. Now, being that you are a defamation lawyer, what would you say? Let's say that everybody here on the Best Live Chat on the internet was wondering, what should we be doing or what should we not be doing? Or are there instances where you see people being real reckless and they defame without even thinking about it? What would you say? Hey, this is something to do to make sure you don't end up needing to hire me to represent you.
Yeah, I would say this. Look, don't put out content just to try to get likes. Be genuine.
Okay.
Have a cause. Try to add value. Ask yourself why you're putting out what you're putting out. In a world where people are filming everything, their dog rolling around in the grass. I mean, that sometimes that's better content than some of the things Candace Owens says, right? Like, my point is, ask why you're doing what you're doing and what purpose does it serve. I promise you'll be a better contributor to the content ecosystem. And I do agree that there's a market for everything. But at the same time, how are you serving people? At the end of the day, that's what we're doing, right? We're out here talking, adding value, conveying information that's valuable, whether it's entertainment, whether it's information, factual, newsworthy, whatever category it falls in. So that's my advice. And the other thing I would say, which is more sort of a legal hard line, is this. Don't talk about things that you have no business talking about.
Okay. Okay.
Stick to the facts. If you have opinions, make sure they're opinions. And if you don't know, talk to a lawyer. Very easy.
That's reasonable. I can dig that.
Yeah.
I can dig it. What I can't dig is I can't find that video. So I can't find it. I don't know what I did with it.
I'm dying over here.
I found people commenting on it, but I don't want that. I want the.
I'm surprised
I thought I had the video.
Listeners found it faster than you.
They might have. Now I think about it. I don't see anybody. If you did, if you're a moderator, put it in the group chat. But no, I like that. I like that. I'm just looking to see if they did. No, they didn't. But I do want to say thank you so much to SC Dog. Says this: if Karmelo continues to listen to his parents, he won't make parole because he'll never admit that he was wrong or show remorse. I can't argue with you. I mean, yeah, I just wish he had just apologized, just said, I'm sorry. Or even his parents, even if his parents had even, said, man, we recognize that our child has done something. Again, whether they intended to do it, nobody's arguing that. Now, we could have a discussion about why he had a knife at the track meet, but let's just pretend like knives at the track meet are normal operating procedure. We still have to admit our child did something wrong. And I think they would have went so far in helping their situation out. He done left me. But April didn't leave me. Thank you, April. Wow. You are definitely the stream sponsor, April. She says this: thank you with the 50. Sure, I look at everything, but I also am a mother of 32 boys. A mother of 3, 2 boys and 1 daughter and 1 girl. And sometimes find myself looking at it from a mother's perspective. But again, it goes back to how you are raised. Your kids, how you raise your kids. Sorry. I know I'm being silly and this is serious stuff. No, you're right on the button, April. Thank you so much for the very kind 50 and for being the stream sponsor. I'm right there with you. it does go to show how you raise your children. And yeah, sadly, I don't know how Karmelo was raised, and sure we could have a discussion about that. But and I've said this before, he didn't have the emotional wherewithal to make a good decision in a key moment. And this generation, and I've told people, I have teenagers. If you're raising teenagers right now, you are getting a master class in helping people, a little human, sometimes a big human, regulate their emotions, because they're just emotional wrecks. I hate to say it like that. And I got girls, so they get compounding their emotional wreckness. But you have to teach them as parents. My
That's
wife
right.
and I work to teach them how to manage their emotions and get themselves under control, because flying off the handle seems to be par for this generation's course.
I agree with that.
I hate it, but it just seems like, man. But all right, my friend, we'll talk offline, but we're gonna have you back again, because we got to get you back on here to talk about something. You know what? It'll probably be on the 26th of July, when they kick Candace's case all the way to next year sometime.
I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to come back sooner.
And you'll have to explain that to us then. Now you got to explain that. Like, why did they kick it to the end of the year?
That's funny.
Now, you said you would do entertainment law. Do you are you involved in entertainment, aka music and anything of that nature? Do you have any interest in that, filmmaking, anything like that out there in Arizona?
Yeah, so I'm a hobbyist guitar player. For anyone that follows me on Instagram,
Really? Okay.
I've got a highlight with me playing some clips. I've played for over 25 years. I'm actually pretty good. I can play by ear almost anything I hear. So I love music. I'm also a visual artist. I love painting realism and drawing realism. I think I've got some stuff posted on my Instagram as well. So from a visual arts standpoint, I love visual arts of all sorts. I've got a real soft spot for artists of all kinds. And so I believe, because I have a personal passion for that, that I would, if I just did that kind of work, it would be very fulfilling to me. And yeah, I do get to work with creators, not as much artists, although we do work with artists when it comes to like trademark, copyright, and their internet related issues. I'm not signing artists to labels, right? I'm not doing that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, so we still work with creators of all kinds to protect their visual and audio assets online and their reputation online. But yeah, so I still get to dabble in some of the IP stuff that their needs demand. So that's fun.
I like that. Okay. So if I needed to copyright all my wonderful podcasts, you'd be the one I would talk to.
Yeah, you could do a compilation. You don't have to do them one by one. You could certainly file a U.S. copyright on a compilation. You could also obviously trademark your name, trademark your logo. Yeah, there's a lot of things you could do.
Interesting. Well, we're going to talk offline.
For sure.
I love it. Amethyst says this, shouting it out, and we'll end it here. No, body cam bingo tonight with his favorite beverage and popcorn. We'll have to have you come on, and we'll what happened is, throughout the day while I'm doing research and stuff like that, I started watching body cam footage, and it's just so fascinating, from sovereign citizens to drunk drivers to people doing some of the crazy stuff.
Sovereign citizens. We should do a whole episode on that nonsense. Oh my God.
Well, there we go. Okay. Well, now we know. All right. So we already know, when you come over again, we'll do body cam bingo, sovereign citizen edition. We love it. They're a hoot, man. And we're only arresting them in the cars. We haven't gone to like them acting crazy in court. So we can just open up a whole new genre. And so we've actually had lawyers come on and explain like DUIs and what to do. There's a lawyer here in Atlanta. She's a fantastic lawyer, and she gave advice like, what do you do if you think you had a little too many, you get pulled over, this is what you do. But what you're not going to do is, if they pull you over, you're not going to take that car home. You can just give that up. That car is going to car jail, and you are going to take this ride. So just go ahead and accept it. So yeah, I would love to have you come on and we can do sovereign citizen, body cam bingo, or court edition would be crazy. But yeah, we just started doing it, and this especially
down for that.
Especially when we were watching like Candace every day, because I used to do like, her show. I used to do a live reaction to her show every day. And sometimes it's like 2 hours of Candace, for 4 days a week can absolutely ruin your brain. So then we started, on Friday, just doing something different. We started body cam bingo, and it's been a hoot. So yeah, I know you'll enjoy it. So I appreciate it, my friend. I'm gonna let you go because I know I've kept you way longer than I anticipated. But I want to say thank you. Thank you so much, man, for being so gracious to give us your insight and your opinions on these things. And of course, just steering us in the right direction and answering a lot of these questions.
My pleasure.
Make sure I didn't miss something. But no, I really appreciate it. We'll definitely have you back on. Wait, I'm looking to make sure I didn't miss something. We'll have you come back on again soon. Now, enjoy your you said you're gonna be here about 8 more days, you said, of traveling, or no?
I'm actually I'm headed out in 2 days from Albania. I'll be in Rome, and then I'll be back in Phoenix. So this is my last weekend here, and
I love it. Well, man, have a fantastic trip, everybody. Thank y'all so much to the Best Live Chat. Thank y'all so much for stopping by. If you're coming from the Beard Lawyers channel, thank you for stopping by tonight. Please make sure you hit the like button, all that kind of stuff. Tip your waiter on the way out the door, all that kind of stuff. If you don't mind, if the mods could just make sure we drop Beard's channel in the chat one more time. If you're not already subscribed to him, please go by and check out what he's doing. Does great work. And then also we can remind him to, come for body cam bingo after he gets back stateside. But I agree right there. Thank you, Beard. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Let's get ready to get out of here. Everybody have a fantastic night. Enjoy yourselves. I will see you all tomorrow. It's Friday. We'll do Friday Night Lights, body cam bingo. We'll do it tomorrow. Everybody have a great night. I'll see you real soon. Grace and peace. Take care. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Jay Witt Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment, because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.